Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be freeze drying ground beef in light of the crazy food prices that are going on right now, the inflation and all that garbage. The best time to buy your food is right now, today, okay, because you know it's going to be more expensive tomorrow. So we're going to show you the process of how we freeze dry our ground beef for long-term storage. So we start off with 3 of these 10-pound rolls of hamburger. They will fill up a large freeze dryer, so that's 5 trays. Now we buy this mainly for our dogs because we don't feed them commercial dog food. But for long-term storage, for emergency, future use, this is what we're going to use. So we're cooking the hamburger in a large pot. My wife here is stirring it occasionally so it doesn't burn on the bottom. But this has been working out really good for us. So when the ground beef is cooked, the fat will separate from the meat. Now we scoop the ground beef out into a colander or a spaghetti strainer and let the fat drip or drain into the pot below. Now it's very important that you do this process to separate the fat from the meat, otherwise it will not freeze dry properly or store long term either. Once the ground beef has stopped draining, all the fat drained into the pot below, then we can start putting it into the trays. Now we're using parchment paper in between each tray to keep the hamburger from sticking to the bottom of each tray when it's in the freezer. And these tray stackers really come in handy to stack these trays up. And off to the freezer they go, and we'll pull these back out in the morning. Now the next day we have to turn on the freeze dryer and wait 15 minutes before we load the food. Now we have to close the drain valve and press continue. Now the freeze drying process has started. Now the drying process is done, and it took 33.5 hours. Alright guys, so the process is done. Dry times are going to vary depending how much food is on the tray. If you put the meat or the hamburger on there real thick, it's going to take longer obviously. And if you don't put it on that thick, it's going to take less time. I put a little fan on the side here where the air goes in. It helps keep things cool. So now we have to release the pressure in the chamber. the drain valve and the air went back into the chamber here, I can open the door. Now I keep these rags here on this cart. One is to keep the condensation from dripping. The rag catches it. And this one here is to wipe off any condensation that you will have on the rubber. This way when you take the food out, it won't drip on your food and ruin it. Okay. And you just want to inspect it, make sure it's nice and dry. It should not be moist at all. It should be hard and crunchy. Okay, looks good. And you can see here that the food shrunk compared to the tray all the way around. So for this, we're going to be using the PrimaVac vacuum sealer. It's a chamber vacuum sealer. You could also use a Food Saver type vacuum sealer. We're going to be putting them in these, they're not Mylar bags. You can put them in Mylar bags if you want. These are 6 inch by 12 inch bags. I think they're 4 mil thickness. These obviously do not block the light. We store these in these plastic containers, and that will block the light anyways. We decided to put them in these smaller bags because when you're using them, you don't want to open up a big old gallon size bag. You want something smaller. So that's why we're using the smaller bags. So now we're going to take them out of the trays here, put it in here. We're going to weigh them out, so to make each bag all the same. You know, each bag that we fill identical and the same weight. So now we're just kind of breaking it up a little bit so you don't have big clumps in the bag. So now we're just going to weigh it. So like I said earlier, just to make sure in each bag we have the same amount. And in this case, we're doing 8 ounces. And for this size bag, it works out really good. We're still able to seal it real nice. It just works out good for us. Now we're going to get our bags and we're going to put them in the PrimaVac. Put them in just like that. Now you want to just push it down just a little bit. Now you want to make sure the part that's going to seal is laying flat up against the bar, like that. And when you're ready, you just close the lid. And the bags are nicely sealed now. right, we are done with the ground beef. We ended up with about 6.5 pounds of ground beef dehydrated, okay? But we started off with 30 pounds of ground beef. Those rolls that you saw, those earlier in the video, those were 10 pounds each. We had 3 of those, so 30 pounds got condensed down to 6 pounds, 6.5 pounds basically. The best and most flavorful way to reconstitute them, to rehydrate the ground beef, would be to use like a bone broth, chicken or beef bone broth. These would be great thrown in soups, chili. I mean, you can use your imagination, right? So during the time of need or time of trouble, when food is scarce, these will come in handy, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. Everything I used in this video, I'm going to put in the description below the video. Please like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.